my good friend Jarrod LeBlanc has went flying past me and hit Ambassador, and I want to bring him up. Congratulations.
The DJ dance, don't you?
Yeah!
Who's seen this guy dance before? Oh, man.
He loves a good dance off.
All right. So who's excited, guys? Hearing those stories gets me excited, and yes, I'm very happy to be an ambassador, but I'll tell you what, it is so not about me. I'm going to give you an example of how this business works. I mean, I've been in corporate America where, you know, to get anywhere, let's face it, you got to step on somebody else's head to get somewhere. This is the opposite of that. To get anywhere in this company, you've got to bring up the people that you bring in to their next level, and then bring their people to the next level, and that's the only way you get anywhere. So, you know, I'll give you an example. In November, I was trying to get to national director. In the course of that, I had all kinds of directors to break, and I was trying to get my mom to regional director. And I was working very hard that last day and a half with Scott Whitney, and it was so fun. I didn't mind. I mean, I was putting in 24-hour days, got all those people to director, got my mom to director, and then it was down to like $1,000 to get me there. And you know what? I ran out of gas. I said, Scott, this was fun when I was getting other people there. Now it's just me. I could care less if I even hit or not. Like, now it's drudgery. I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? So you get in a mindset of helping other people, it's going to help you. But what I want to talk to you guys today about is the power of a story. The stories that we tell ourselves build our beliefs, and our beliefs determine our actions. Our actions are going to determine who we become. So it's going to be in two parts. The first part is the stories that we're told and the stories we tell ourselves and how that impacts our lives. The second part is going to be more of the stories we tell other people and how those stories affect them and affect their lives. So the first thing I want you to do, everybody, is close your eyes and relax. Take a deep breath. Sink down into your chair. So I want you to go on a little journey. I want you to transport all the way back to your childhood when you're about 4 or 5 years old. I want you to picture yourself snuggled up in that nice warm bed, and you've got that favorite blanket pulled up to your chin. Maybe your arm is rested around that favorite stuffed animal that you slept with every night. Remember what that stuffed animal felt like. Remember what it smelled like. Right? And there you are, all cozied up, and you're waiting for that special person to come on in and tuck you in and tell you your favorite bedtime story. So remember what your favorite story was when you were a child. Remember how those characters, you know, they weren't really real, but they seemed real to you, didn't they? You really felt like you could be part of that story and go on adventures with the characters in that book. And even though you heard that story probably 100 times, you couldn't wait to hear it again because you loved that story so much. All right? And I'm going to count to 3, and then I want you all to open your eyes and say out loud the name of your favorite childhood bedtime story. 1, 2, 3. Where the wild things are. Awesome. So those stories were powerful, weren't they? They weren't real, but they were real to you. And think of the story of Santa Claus, right? A guy in a red suit, he goes all around the world in one night, climbs down everybody in the world's chimney, and who believed that one? Didn't we all believe that one at some point in our life? Everybody believed in Santa Claus, right? Was it real?
It's not real.
It wasn't real, though, as it turned out, right? But he was real to us, and we believed in him. Something magical. And, you know, as we got older, we got wiser, and we started to get, you know, the rational thought happening. And we got to a point where probably if somebody had told us that same story about our Uncle Mike, that Uncle Mike went and climbed down everybody's chimney the whole world in one night, we'd be like, forget about it. We know better than that. But we still believed for a couple more years that Santa Claus could maybe do it, because it was magic, right? We heard that story so many times, it was hard to believe that Santa could not be real. So guys, as adults, we we all tell ourselves stories that aren't real. And those stories can harm us. I'm going to talk about a couple of those stories. Who's heard this one? I can't be a body by body promoter because I'm too shy. Anybody heard that one? I've always been shy. I was born that way. Do we think that's true? Let me ask you this. Has anybody ever met a baby that was shy? Yes or no? Anybody heard a 6-month-old baby say, you know, I'd cry for my food, but I'm just too shy. It doesn't happen. What does a baby do when a baby's hungry? Cries, right? It's going to scream for its food. There's no baby that's too shy to ask for its food. So let's call that baby little Johnny, we'll say, right? And a couple of years later, little Johnny's 3 years old, and he's hanging out in his living room in his pajamas. He's got his G.I. Joe or his Star Wars figures, Transformers, whatever is cool, right? And he's in his own little world, doesn't have a care in the world. That's his universe right over in that little corner. So knock at the door, neighbor Bill comes over, and Mom and Dad say, hey, little Johnny, say hi to neighbor Bill. Johnny doesn't say anything, so I say, don't worry, neighbor Bill, he's just shy, right? Was he really shy? Maybe he was just so engrossed in what he was doing that he didn't want to look up and talk to neighbor Bill. Maybe he just didn't like neighbor Bill. Maybe nobody really likes neighbor Bill, and everybody would like to kind of do what Johnny did and just ignore the guy. Right? Maybe he smells funny. Who knows? But Johnny starts to hear that story in his mind that he is shy, so he's got a file card that goes in his mind, right? He's got a card that says shy. Now he starts having his mind being filled up with that card that keeps going in his file, so maybe it's time for little Johnny to go to school. And they bring him in the first day, and they say, hey, Mrs. Henderson, this little Johnny, he's a little shy. Now his whole school years is kind of set up with that in mind, right? That seed's been planted. It becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy that he's going to be shy, right? But he didn't start out that way. And let's say that at the same time, down the road, is a girl, we'll call her little Janie. And she's getting a different file card, right? Her mom and dad tell her that she's pretty. And her grandparents tell her she's pretty. Even her brother Roy, maybe just on her birthday, but even he's going to once in a while tell her she's pretty. They bring her to school the first day, her parents, and say, hey, Mrs. Henderson, meet little Janie. Isn't she pretty? So she grows up with file cards going in there left and right that she's what? Pretty. So she grows up believing that she's pretty. And down the road a little further, we got little Kenny, right? Little Kenny, every night at the kitchen table, his parents are talking about how they are broke. They probably talk about how their parents before them were broke, and they've always been broke. And all they can ever imagine is being broke, okay? So little Kenny probably grows up imagining himself when he's older, he's probably just going to be broke, right? Because that was what was in his parents' files, and they gave him that file card. So they kind of put that garbage into Kenny's files. And they probably didn't do it on purpose. But let's think here in Maine, I was a wealthy family, the Alphons. Do you think when the Alphons sit down for dinner, they have conversations about how broke they're going to be in the future? No. They're probably talking about, visions of success. What are we going to accomplish this year? If you're growing up that family, you're probably getting a file card that says success. And you're out thinking, I'm probably going to be successful. Whatever I want to do, I can probably do it. Those are the cards that are going into their minds. Little Johnny is getting, kind of garbage dumped into his files, and some of us may have heard some of those same comments that puts the garbage in our files. And little Johnny's, little Kenny's parents probably didn't mean to do it. It's not intentional. It's not like they sat down one day and said, hey, when this kid's born, let's make sure we tell him everything that's impossible, okay? Doesn't happen like that, right? Parents might not even know that they have garbage in their own files, but it comes out of their mouth, goes into Johnny's ear, he hears it, now he's got garbage in his files. So, the parents did it unconsciously. They didn't know any better. But now that you guys are all starting to know better, you got to start protecting your files, right? You got to protect your files. If you had an office full of important files at home, and somebody was to come in and dump coffee and garbage all over your files, would you let them do that? No. So you want to be very careful about who you're letting get into your mental files here. See, we all have these stories that we're told They affect our beliefs, and the beliefs determine our actions. The actions determine what our lives are going to become. And if you have the story that, you know, if I think I can do it, I can, it's probably going to work for you. If you have an idea that, you know, you think you can't do it, you think you can't, you know, hit regional director, you can't get anyone to do this for you, you're probably going to be right. I think it was Henry Ford that said this: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. Right? So there's one to put in your file. That's empowering right there. So we're all going to be told as promoters there's things that we can't do. Right? Here's a common one that I've heard. Tell me if any of you have heard this one. Nobody's going to be able to hit ambassador in Aroostook County. There's not enough people up here. Anybody heard that story yet?
We have.
Right? Okay, is that empowering or disempowering? Disempowering. Are you going to let that into your filing cabinet up here? No. Nope. All right. There's always going to be somebody that tells you you can't jump any higher than a certain level. You know that if you put a flea in a jar, it'll start jumping. And if you have the lid on, it's going to hit its head on the lid. Does that a few times and it learns if you jump higher than that, you're going to hit your head on the lid. So just only jump up to the lid. Now you can take the lid off the jar. So nothing's preventing that flea from jumping way up here, except for that it's been taught that it can only jump this high. So you know that that flea will never jump any higher than where that lid was for the rest of its life. Could be jumping up here, but it's just learned to stay down here. So I want you guys to be reaching for the stars and jumping up here. And don't let people tell you that you can only jump this high. Okay? The people that you surround yourself with and that you listen to and spend time with are important. This is something I learned early on in my marketing career, and I've done marketing off and on for 20 years. Never done this type of thing before, but I also heard Nick Sarnicola recently mention this. And if you brought a pencil and a paper, and you don't write down anything else I say, write this down. Okay, this is an important thing to wrap your mind around. The 5 people that you spend the most time with is who you become. Now, when I was a kid, here's a full disclosure. I was a fairly smart kid, good with academic. I could hang out with the Scott high IQ kids with the sweaters if I wanted to, you know. Played sports so I could mingle with the jocks and talk their language. Played the guitar, and sorry mom, but I like to party. So I could hang out with the party kids, you know, and I had a large circle of friends. My mom and dad always said, be careful who you hang around with. They get in trouble, you get in trouble. They get in a mess, that mess can get onto you. And I didn't really listen to that. Well into my 20s, even up to 30 years old, I still had people in my life that, you know, they were just, you know, they got in a lot of trouble. I probably shouldn't have been hanging out with them, but out of some crazy sense of loyalty, I still was, you know. And it was to the point where it wasn't just my parents, even my other good friends were like, why do you still hang out with that guy? Why do you let these people hang around, you know? And then, you know, they did get me in trouble. And you know what? Those people I had been loyal to were the first people at the sign of trouble to bail on me. All right? So if I were you, I would be very careful who you choose to be your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that you spend your time with. Very important. Here's a positive example. About 6 months ago, I started talking to a guy named Troy Arbo in Ohio. He's part of my upline, part of the upline for most of the people in this room. At the time I started talking to him, he was a regional director. I think he hit national director the very next day. But from the get-go, when I started talking with Troy, he told me right away Scott Whitney had signed him up, enrolled him into Visalus. Scott Whitney was his mentor, and boy, he wanted to try and be like Scott Whitney and do what he'd done. So over the next 6 months, I watched Troy spend a lot of time with Scott Whitney. I saw him go to challenge parties with Scott. I saw him go to events with Scott. I saw him, you know, doing 3-way calls with Scott, eating lunch with Scott. Probably talks to him every day, right? Over those 6 months, I saw Troy slowly start to become Scott, right? To the point where this week, Troy actually hit 2-star ambassador, just like Scott. Raise your hand if you think it was a good idea for Troy Arbo to pick Scott Whitney to be one of his 5 people that he hangs out with and spends time with, okay? Imagine if the 5 people that I spent my time with was Amy Jarrett, Travis and Caitlin and the Maples, Lappy Ears, that might be more than 5. But wouldn't I be feeling 10 feet tall and bulletproof? Right? So be careful about who you spend that time with, those 5 people. Now I'm going to say something a little controversial. I've said this in trainings before, and some people don't like it, but I'm going to ask you permission. Can I just speak straight to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay? There's 3 types of people in life. People with above average intelligence talk about ideas. All right? Gandhi talked about ideas. Benjamin Franklin talked about ideas. Thomas Jefferson talked about ideas. And some of those ideas made our lives better, right? We're still living good because of some of the things that those guys did. Think of the 3 founders of Visalus. When Blake Malin and Ryan and Nick get together, they talk about big ideas. They talk about how are they going to impact the obesity crisis in this country and in the world. That's a big idea, right? They talk about how they're going to take this company and be the first product-based company to reach $1 billion in sales just in North America. Is that a big idea? March to $1 billion is a big idea. They talk about how they're going to get 10 million meals to people that can't afford to eat very well. How are they going to donate 10 million meals? That's a big idea. So, people with above average intelligence talk about ideas. People with average intelligence talk about events. Right? That's okay. Hey, did you watch the football game yesterday? Hey, did you go to the party last night? Did you catch the finale of American Idol? Whatever it was. People with below average intelligence talk about people. Can you believe what that guy did? Man, did you see her hair last night at the party? I can't believe she even went outside in those shoes. What was she thinking? All right? So imagine if you surrounded yourself with 5 people that all they did was criticize other people. What's that going to do to the quality of your life? All right? So you want to be careful about the 5 people you choose. Now I want to transition into the stories that we tell other people and the effect that that can have on their lives and our lives. First thing I want to talk about is excuses. Who in this side of the room has ever made up an excuse? Anybody over here ever made up an excuse? Right? Isn't an excuse just a story that we tell so we can get out and doing something we should do to get what we want? Right? But yet we've all made excuses. Here's some of the excuses that I hear all the time. Jarrod, I can't be a body by body promoter. I just don't know anybody anymore. Anybody heard that one? You start promoting the body by body challenge, you're going to run into all these people from the NFL. No friends left club. Right? Met these people from the NFL yet? Now, I believe that anyone, if you jog your memory appropriately, you can know at least 100 people. But I always tell people that you better know at least 6 friends. Right? Everybody has to know 6 friends. You know why? Because it doesn't matter how many nutritious shakes you drink, or how many Bipacks you take, or anti-aging pills you swallow, we're all going to die one day. How many people know that's true? And when we do die, we're going to probably end up in a big rectangular box. Who knows if that's true? That box is going to have 6 handles on it. Who knows if that's true? Moral of the story is, if you don't have 6 friends, you better find 6. So when somebody gives you a crappy excuse like that, call them out on it. I tell people that. I don't listen to that type of an excuse. Everybody knows 6 people. Come on. Somebody might give me the opposite excuse. You know, Jarrod, I just know too many people. I wouldn't even know where to start with that business. Well, let's start with the 6 people that are going to put you into the dirt. Let's call them and get them over here first. We'll have a party for those guys first. Right? Here are some of the excuses that I've made over the course of my life. Made this one a million times. You know, that bachelor's degree in psychology, if I'd just gone to school for something else, man, then I'd be financially successful right now. Here's another one. You know, I can't be a high-income earner right now because I'm a single dad. I made a decision to do that, so because I did that, I can't earn a high-figure income. Maybe when he's grown up, then I'll go out and be successful. I actually used my son as an excuse to not go out and be highly successful. Now I've changed my story, and my son is my reason for going out and being very successful. I had to go out and get a new story, didn't I? All right, because I control my story. Who controls your story? All right, say it with me. I control my story.
I control my story.
A little more power into it. I control my story.
I control my story.
This time with 100% conviction and belief, I control my story.
I control my story.
Now, who here knows Judy Ross? Right? How awesome is Judy Ross? Let's put her hand. Now, my very awesome friend Judy Ross is probably wondering today, how come out of all these people, Jarrod asked me to be behind the camera when he was talking? Well, now I'm going to tell you why. It was so she wouldn't be quite so able to throw things at me for the next part of my talk. I'm kidding. Judy knows what I'm going to talk about here. When Judy first signed up, and she was one of my first customers and one of my first promoters, she needed a health transformation. And she did awesome with the health part right away. She started losing weight, coming off medications, changed her medical diagnosis, just totally, this transformed her life. Most of you probably heard her story, right?
Yep.
There's another part to the story of Judy Ross you might not know, which is that she also really wanted the business to succeed. In fact, she needed this to succeed. She wanted to be an ambassador, right off the get-go. But they got to a point where she wasn't really going as fast as she wanted to go. And, you know, we're always Facebooking, always talking. And when I would call her out on that, I got a whole lot of excuses. So here are some of the excuses that Judy was telling me. Jarrod, I can't have a challenge party because my water broke, and it's a mess, and I'd be embarrassed I can't have a challenge party at my house. And then she would say, Jarrod, I can't have another challenge party this week. I already had one this week. Keep in mind, she wanted to be an ambassador. So did her actions match her goal? No. Raise your hand if you think you can get to ambassador having one challenge party a week. Probably not going to happen, right? Here was another one. Jarrod, I can't have any challenge parties of my own this week. I'm too busy telling my story at other people's challenge parties. So wait a minute, so you mean to tell me you can't work on your business this week because you're too busy working on other people's business? That's right. Was that action she was taking going to help her get to her goals? I mean, nice charity work she was doing, right? Building Tom's business and whoever else's business. But at one point, she had to change her story. She had to go out and get a new story. And her new story became, I can't have a challenge party at my house. Hey guys, you know what, there's some water damage over there, don't worry about it. Oh, here, I got these shakes. I lost 95 pounds so far drinking a milkshake. What? Right? That's the story. Her new story became, you know what? People love me and they want to do this with me, and I'm going to set the world on fire here. So, last month, as you saw up here, Judy hit regional director. All because she went out and did what? Got a new story, guys. Yeah, and that story included lots of parties. I'll tell you what. I've got 400 people in my group in the last 2 weeks. You know who's enrolled the most people? Judy. Because she went out and she got a new story. Exactly. So the stories that we tell ourselves are powerful. Judy's got mojo, she's got movement, she's got momentum, all because she went out and got a new story. I want to talk to you guys about the power of the story. You all create your own story, and there is certain storytelling strategies I want to go over real quick. Let's see. When I first started marketing, I was taught a simple lesson. You might want to write this down too. Facts tell, and stories sell. So you don't want to bore someone with facts. You want to tell them exciting stories, right? If Rob Socha, when I met him in the gym, like he said, had said, "Hey Jarrod, listen to this. I'm gonna read you all about this product." Okay, the Perfect Heart Smart Meal provides ideal balanced nutrition. Our unique Trisor protein blend with fiber for long-lasting energy won't leave you hungry. Would I have signed up, do you think? No. Nope. When Rob talked to me, he got excited. He said, "Hey man, I just lost 8 pounds in a month drinking a milkshake. You got to try this." He was excited. That got me in. So facts tell, stories sell. If you want to sell a lot of challenge kits and sell a lot of people on the idea of being a promoter with you, get good at telling stories, right? Who's been with me at challenge parties recently? All right? At this point, I've got a story for everything. If you ask me a question, I'm not stating any facts. I'm going to give you a story. That's the way I roll. I got a story for everything, and it's powerful. People will attract to stories, especially if you put certain elements into them. Nobody wants to follow somebody that's indecisive. People like to follow someone that's a decision maker. So if you're waffling, you're on the fence, people aren't going to want to follow you. Somebody asks you, hey, aren't you promoting Body by Body? And you're like, well, my brother got me in. I'm kind of looking to see what he does. If he does good, then I'll probably take it more serious. You want to follow that guy? No. You've got to be decisive. So when you're telling your story at your challenge party, put in your moment of decision where you went all in. Me, a powerful example is the Pouliot's. They made a decision to go all in. They actually had Tracy's mom move in with them to help watch the kids so they could go out and hustle and build this business. That's a powerful decision that they made right there. That's a powerful part of the story that people will attract to. I talk about from the health aspect of it. I got good results right away, but when my mom took her cholesterol from 239 to 199, then I really thought, this isn't just cosmetic about, weight loss and looking better in that dress or whatever. This is going to actually change people's lives, save somebody's life that you care about. That was when I made a decision really to totally buy into this and just tell everybody I can about it. Okay? That was a decision I made. So in your story, whatever happened that really made you make this decision, make sure you're telling people about that. The power of 3 is another thing that's important when you're telling your story. People like to hear things in 3s. You ever watch a movie? It came from a screenplay, and in that screenplay there are 3 acts. Always. Most popular songs have how many verses? 3. Let's see, the 3 bears, the 3 little pigs, the 3 musketeers, the 3 blind mice, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Our minds are trained to hear 3, so when you're giving examples of things in your story, give them 3. It'll be powerful. If you give them 4, it's going to seem like you went on a little too long. You give them 2, you know what, somewhere in their unconscious mind, they'll be like, it's a little gypped on that. I really wish somebody would have told me 1 more. To give one more. So I always try to give 3 examples, Say, I lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks drinking a milkshake. My brother lost 30 pounds. My friend Judy lost 95 pounds drinking a milkshake. So tell 3 and end on the most powerful. And if you can do it in such a way that they actually finish the last sentence with you, here's another thing I like to do when I'm telling my story. By the time I hit director, I was getting my meals for free. By the time I hit regional director, I was driving a BMW for free. Now that I'm ambassador, I'm financially free. Right? End on a high note, get them to finish your sentence for you if you can. Along the lines of 3, what's one of the big drivers of this company to get us so many customers? The 3 for free, right? The 3 for free is huge. When you're telling your story, make sure you brag about getting free meals. Who doesn't want free meals? How many people know groceries is getting pretty expensive out there, right? Up in the county, was that one of the things people attracted to, was getting free meals? Yes, absolutely. So put that in your story, and I'll give you an example. Next town over is Madison. In Madison, I've gone to Hannaford to get my groceries for 20-some-odd years, right? And my uncle Neil LeBlanc is even the general manager over there. Now imagine if I took 3 of you guys with me. We went over to Uncle Neil's, Hannaford, Madison. We filled up our carts, go up to the cash register, and I said to the clerk, hey, go get Uncle Neil, man. Wait till he sees what I've done here. Go get him, right? He comes out, I say, hey, check it out. I got 3 friends, and they're all doing their groceries today, so I get mine free, right? What do you think Uncle Neil's going to say to me?
No.
Boy, are you crazy? Get out your cash, get out your debit card, and you buy your groceries and get on out here, all right? All right? And I've been going there for 20 years. He's my uncle. He's not giving me any free meals. The fact that you can go out and get 60 meals for free, which I've done for 8 months now, is powerful. So you want to put that into your story. A couple other things. Tom is going to talk more about Facebook, but make sure you're telling your story on Facebook. You can tell a story on YouTube and post that YouTube story. Those YouTube testimonies are powerful. One day there was an event like this, and I got Chris McMichael here and a bunch of other people to give health testimonies, and I sprung it on Judy Russ. Like, Judy, get on over here. You're going to give your health testimony. Did you want to do that?
Yeah.
No. This was Judy in her excuses stage, you know, but I made her do it, kind of, sort of.
You did.
Our friend Kim Stairs sends me a text a little while later. She says, you know, Judy's really pissed at you right now. I said, I know she is. But it's going to help her business. You wait and see. And now that Judy's got a new story, every time she knows she's going to see me, she asks me if I'm bringing my camera. Can we make another video? How many people saw the one we made, Judy's Red Hot Visalus Transformation? Yeah. Our new story is, I'm a YouTube rock star. So put those out there. 15,000 views, exactly. And the last thing I'm going to say is write your story down. Write it down on paper, practice it, rehearse it. Take your story seriously. I've gone to challenge parties with some people in this room. When I've heard your story and it's awesome, I'm thinking, man, that's a great story. That's going to attract a lot of people. A couple weeks later, I hear your story. What happened to the great story I heard? Where did that one go? You know what I mean? You get a good story, write it down and keep it somewhere before you forget the good points of it. All right. If you've hit regional director or above, I want you to stand up. All right? These are the leaders in the room. Let's give them a hand. Stay standing. Now, anyone that plans on joining them as a regional director, stand up with them.
Woohoo!
Who wants to be a regional director? Stay standing. Okay. Stay standing if you want to be an ambassador by the end of this year. Good. All right. I like that. That was an easy question, but here's a tougher one. Stay standing if you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to ambassador by the end of this year. So here's my thinking, guys, and this is what I'm going to ask you. If you hit ambassador, Visalus Science is going to pay you a 6-figure income to promote the Body by Bye Challenge. That's $10,000 a month to promote the challenge. Do you think it's worth it to go home tonight and take a couple hours to write out your story?
Yep.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to be worth it to call up your enroller and practice your story with them? Think it's worth it to practice with each other, maybe practice in the mirror, do whatever it takes to get a good story going.
Yep.
All right. So guys, I am very, very excited to work with all of you. We're going to take a break here in a minute, but you know what? I want to go out and crush the rest of this month. I want March to be even better than February was. This is something I made when I did a training with Blake Mallon. And he did a little something on file cards. And I wrote this down. I've lugged this around with me every day since. I made a file card that said ambassador. So you got a file card at home, make a card like this. On the back of it, write the actions that you have to take every day. Keep this card with you. And I'll tell you what, there's 10 months left in this year. I hit ambassador in 8 months. You guys can do it. Tracy Pouliot hit it in what?
3 months.
3 months? That's crazy. You guys got 10 months. Be careful of what you put in your files. I want you guys to put this one in your files. All right? And know this, you can put another one in your file, which is that I believe in all of you. And I believe you can do it. So if you ever have doubt and you don't have belief in yourself, call me because I'll share my belief in you with you and help you out. All right? So for the rest of this year, let's all go out and create a new story. Who wants to do that with me?